Hello, everybody. I'll just wait a few seconds for people to come online. Right, so hello everybody and welcome to the hidden costs of excluding introverts in the workplace. If you've never joined me online before or you are not familiar with me and my content that I share here on LinkedIn, then I'm Carol Stewart. I'm the founder of the Bounding Solutions and author of Quietly Visible, Leading with Influence and Impact as an Introverted Woman. And I coach leaders to lead with confidence, influence, and impact. And I work with organizations to develop their talent by providing a range of workshops, webinars, and talks, as well as facilitating and team coaching as well. And I particularly specialize in introverted leaders, women, and underrepresented groups. So today we're exploring the hidden costs of excluding introverts in the workplace. And this isn't just about introverts, it's about creating workplaces where everyone can thrive. And what I'm going to be touching on is how introverts are overlooked, what the organisational cost of this is. I'm going to be looking at the strengths that introverts bring to the workplace. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how leaders can unlock introvert potential, as well as what you can do yourself if you are introverted. And I'll also share details of my Quietly Unstoppable confidence building masterclass as well, that's taking place on online on the 22nd of September. So whilst I get going, if you let me know in the comments which part of the world that you're joining me from. I always love to know where you're joining me from. And also, if you want to share in the comments whether you are introverted, extroverted, or somewhere in between, i.e. an ambivert. And yes, I can't see any comments yet, but yes, do send them through. And if you're watching on replay, I do come back and read the comments, so feel free, if you are watching on replay, to add your comments as well. So how introverts are overlooked. Now, our workplaces, many workplaces, favour extroverts, and it's often the case of he or she who shouts the loudest are the ones that get heard, get the recognition, get the reward, and get ahead. And quieter ones are often overlooked. And many of our workplace practices favour extroverts. I've come across this in my research with clients that I've worked with, and I've been into a number of organisations talking about this and who've recognised that their work practices are excluding introverts, they're more favourable to introverts. And some of the things that favour extroversion over introversion are things like open plan spaces, open plan offices. They can be quite challenging for people who are introverted, particularly if there's a lot that is going on in those spaces, because a lot of that activity can be overstimulating. Hello, Chinanso, joining from Nigeria, and who says that she's an ambivert. Great to have you online. So yes, open plan officers, because of the activities that are going on and all that activity can be overstimulating for introverts, as introverts can be overstimulated by those sorts of environments. Meetings are another environment which can favour extroversion over introversion because of the way that most meetings are conducted. Introverts typically have a preference for thinking and processing information before speaking, whereas most meetings tend to be asking people just to respond on the spot. So they don't allow for that thinking and processing of information, the time that is needed to be able to give a well thought out opinion. Also, when it comes to quick decisions as well, that's the same thing. Not having that time to process the information can be a disadvantage in meetings or where those quick decisions are needed for introverts. Introverts may, when it comes to interviews, again, not having that time to process information. Research shows that extroverts get more opportunities in the workplace because their performance is more visible. Introverts tend to not necessarily talk as openly about their performance and what they're working on. And I see this time and time again when it comes to interviews or when it just comes to self-promotion. Introverts aren't typically bothered about being in the spotlight, so may not necessarily talk about what they're working on or their achievements. And one particular client who was unsuccessful at an interview, when she came to me for coaching, she said that she was given feedback that she didn't promote herself, that she didn't sell herself enough. And one of the things was that she didn't share what she had done as well as she could have done. She talked a lot about the we in terms of what the team had achieved, but not so much about the specific role that she had played in getting that particular result. And so because of this, not being as visibly vocal as their extroverted colleagues, introverts can get passed over or overlooked when it comes to leadership or being passed over for leadership. And the cost to the organization for excluding introverts is, well, one, it's not fair, first of all, but it's not just that. It can be costly because if you think the percentage of people in your organization that are introverted, that's a lot of lost innovation that's going on there. Those ideas, those deep ideas that don't get heard or don't come to the forefront. What happens as well is that retention rates suffer because people become disengaged or they leave. And I've seen this where the environments where people have felt like they've been excluded because of their introversion, or they may feel like they don't belong, then they leave, they look for somewhere else. And organizations are missing out on the talent that introverts bring, their leadership talent, because introverts do make great leaders. And sometimes what we see in workplaces is that visibility is rewarded over value. And so it's not about personality, it's about a performance issue if all the talent in an organization is not being recognized. Because introverts bring many strengths to an organization, and often people misunderstand what introversion is. They may think that introversion is something that needs to be gotten over or see it as a weakness, but it is not. There are many strengths that introverts bring to the workplace. And even in my research, once the research participants had got to a stage in their lives where they recognized that they were in their strengths as an introvert, they saw it as a superpower. And that's how they described it, as a superpower. So introversion is a strength, not a shortcoming. And some of those strengths include that deep focus and reflective thinking. Introverts are known for being active listeners and higher in empathy, all of which are qualities which are needed when it comes to communicating, when it comes to influencing, when it comes to collaborating. Introverts are known for being calm under pressure, and having that calm presence. And that was something that when I was a leader, I was renowned for being that calm in the storm. Thoughtful communication, that's another strength that introverts bring. So they may not necessarily speak as much as their extroverted colleagues, but when they do, they've often given it some careful consideration about what they're saying, and it's very thoughtful what they're communicating. And I've seen this a number of times where people have said that the quieter people, the introverts, may not say a lot in meetings, but when they say something which is quite profound or quite impactful. And so recognizing these strengths adds value to your organization, to your workplaces. And these are the hallmarks of human-centered leadership. And one of my clients who's introverted, who, having been made to feel that they weren't good enough because of their introversion, once they sort of had the coaching and recognized that their strengths were actually superpowers and started to utilize that, they felt so much more confident. And because they felt so much more confident, they were able to be more their authentic selves. And by being more their authentic selves, they had a bigger impact because they weren't having to pretend. They felt so much more confident within themselves by being their authentic selves. And it was a great improvement in terms of not only how they were perceived as a leader, but in how they felt about themselves. Got a question here in the comments. I'm sorry I missed the first 10 minutes as the link wasn't working. Will I be able to watch the full event from the start afterwards? Yes, as soon as this live session has finished, the recording will be available, so you will be able to watch it all. So when it comes to unlocking your introvert potential, so here's some practical things that leaders can do. So think about things like meetings, interviews, open plan spaces. How are they allowing for the diversity of thinking styles that you have? Are they allowing that space for that quiet retrospection that's needed? So when it comes to meetings or communicating, offering mixed communication formats that can enable you to tap into that diversity of thinking styles. When it comes to meetings, recognizing that some people will think whilst they're speaking and some people will speak whilst they're thinking. So accommodating for the different thinking styles, giving people that space to have that time to think before they offer their opinion or before they make a decision, allowing people to contribute verbally as well as written as well can ensure that you get those opportunities to contribute in different ways. And allowing that reflection time. So in a meeting, not putting people on the spot necessarily, but giving them some time just to have a bit of thinking and reflection. And recognizing that contribution comes in many different formats. So it's not just about visibility. It's not just about who's talking about what they're doing or who's more visible. It's recognizing the talent amongst everybody and valuing everybody's contribution. And as a leader, it's about getting to know your team members individually, personally, identifying what are their strengths and how you can utilize their strengths. And just because somebody may not always be telling you what they're doing doesn't mean to say that they're not adding value, they're not doing a great job. They recognize the contribution that people are making as well as not just those that are visible. And when you're being inclusive towards introverts, it's not about changing people who are introverted. It's about ensuring that the environments are designed so that everybody can contribute. And have any of you that are online live seen any ways in which this has been done, where you've seen leaders, or even something that you may have done yourself, where you've helped to unlock introvert potential, or you've unlocked your own introvert potential by doing something? Please let me know in the comments. And so if you are introverted, what you can do yourself so that you are able to have the kind of impact that you want, so that you will have the kind of visibility that you want to have, not just waiting for others to do it for you. Remember that you don't have to be loud to stand out as a leader and to have impact. And so think about how you are being seen and being heard, and how you can show up in ways that feel authentic. And so preparing for those moments where they may be situations that don't come naturally to you. So you may be getting put on the spot, or you may be asked to contribute, but you've not had time to necessarily process the information. So preparing for those moments in advance can help you a great deal. So things like meetings, going through the agendas in advance and identifying those topics that you have a perspective on, that you want to add your perspective on, so that when it comes to the meetings, you've done a lot of that thinking beforehand. And if you don't get agendas for meetings, as some people say they don't, it's about asking for agendas in advance, asking people to make sure that agendas are sent out so that everybody can have time to think about things before they get into the meeting, and give their best opinions and best thoughts in the meeting. Utilize your natural strengths. So play to those natural strengths of listening, reflection, observing. And people value being listened to. People value having that reflective opinion. So utilize those strengths. Don't be afraid to recognize that they are strengths, that introversion is a strength, and don't let anybody convince you otherwise. And it's about communicating the value that you add. So don't just wait to be seen, or assume that it is being seen. Communicate the value that you're adding, and think about who needs to know about the value that you are adding, or the difference that you're making, and how you can communicate that. And I know self-promotion doesn't necessarily come easy to the people who are introverted, and a lot of people don't like self-promotion, whether they're introverted or extroverted. But it's about, rather than looking at it as self-promotion, look at it as communicating the value that you add and the difference that you're making. And so taking that spotlight off yourself, whilst making it about the results or the difference that you've made or the impact that it's had, can make it feel less self-centered. But remember, when you're communicating that, it's about being clear that these results happened as a result of the action that you take. And remember that confidence comes through preparation and practice, not pretense. And so a lot of times, some of the things which may feel uncomfortable, that don't come naturally to you, but you may have to, because of your role, engaging by practicing, it will get easier. Sometimes it may be a case of having to step out of the comfort zone and recognizing, well, your default style is this. However, in certain situations, you may need to be a bit more vocal, be a bit more sociable, and it's recognizing that, but it's also recognizing those things that energize you and those things that deplete your energy, so that you can manage your energy. Because for people who are introverted, it's about recognizing that it's about those things that deplete your energy or that overstimulate you will deplete your energy. So if you've got a day full of back-to-back meetings, well, I wouldn't recommend that you have a day of back-to-back meetings, because you will just feel totally depleted of energy. But doing things and recognizing how you can manage your energy when you are at your optimal energy wise and when you are most depleted, and managing that accordingly. So building time in your day to recharge, to re-energize, when you know that you've had periods where you've had to expend a lot of energy and are feeling depleted. Keep some time, quiet time, having quiet time and reflective time where you can just be on your own and go inwards and recharge. And so that about sums up what I'm covering today. And just to recap, I've talked about how introverts are overlooked. I've looked at the organisational cost of this, talked about the strengths that introverts bring and how leaders can unlock introvert potential. And I've also shared what you yourself can do if you are introverted. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you're somebody who is wanting to increase your confidence, if fear and a lack of confidence or self-doubt stops you from showing up authentically and having the kind of impact that you want, then you can join my Quietly Unstoppable masterclass, where I will be sharing practical ways to overcome fear and self-doubt, so that you can improve your confidence and transform your life. And if this is something that you are interested in, then go to quietlyunstoppable.eventbrite.co.uk, and you'll find out more details about it. And I will share details in the comments after this. I will come back online and put the link in the comments for anybody that is interested. Now, I'm conscious that whilst I'm sitting here, it has got darker. So it's turned very dark here in the UK at the moment. And so I hope you can still see me okay, because I haven't got a light on as such, because it was really bright when I started. So apologies for that. And if you've got any questions, then do share them in the chat. I'm happy in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. And if you're watching on the replay, I will come back and see your comments and respond to them as well. And if you would like me to come into your organization to show how they can become environments where everybody can thrive, so not just extroverts, not just introverts, but everybody can thrive, where everyone feels like they belong and they feel psychologically safe, then do send me a DM. So message me directly. Any questions before I sign off? Okay, so no questions. So I will say thank you for those of you who have joined live, and for those of you who watched the replay, thank you for watching. And so until the next time, bye.